Absolutely. U.S. Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith, good morning, ma'am. How are you?
Good morning, Paul. We are doing well, trying to figure out if it's Monday or Tuesday or what day of the week it is.
I know, but Friday's going to bump up here quite fast, so that's the good news. We talked the latter part of last week, and tell me what you found out, who you talked to, and we're talking about this possibility of moving up to 2,000 minors from Nicaragua into the former Grand Hotel or Grand Casino Hotel, which has been empty for a while now. So who did you talk to, and tell me a little bit about the conversation.
Well, we started hearing a little chattering about this, and of course, when you're talking about 2,000 migrants coming in, that obviously gets your attention, and it was kind of hard to find details. So I sent a letter to Jeff Hild. He is with the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, but he is with the Administration for Children and Families. So we found out the appropriate person, and I sent a letter to him and just, expressing my concern about the potential housing of these migrant children in Tunica, Mississippi, and, let him know that I'm just hearing chatter. No one's contacted the office or anything that's official. So I reached out to him in a letter, and he immediately responded. We set up a telephone call this past Friday. So he explained to me that, a competitive task order was sent to 17 pool of vendors who have contracts already with the Department of Interior under, this multi-award delivery quantity contract type thing. But it's basically for a new hybrid model called an influx care facility. And he explained that they've got 290 of these in the country, and I think he said one's in Pecos, Texas, one was somewhere near San Antonio. But he just let me know that, they were putting out a contract looking for, an RFP is what we called it, a request for proposals for companies to turn in their proposal trying to get this contract. So I started to, when I asking him questions, he was just telling me that, there is no footprint of a program like this in the state. There's currently no shelters located, and that a company has come forward to offer the old hotel there in Tunica, Mississippi. And Paul, I was actually on the ground. I went there Thursday. I just wanted to see, what kind of shape the facility's in, because when you get this many calls on something, people are concerned. You just, you better find out the details. And he was telling me that there's about 2,000 that would be coming in, 4 to 17 years of age. And right now, I think he said that the deadline is months away, and he had not received proposals. He said that, it'd have to be close to an airport. It would have to be fully self-contained. You'd have to have plenty of bilingual staff available for this. And, of course, you're going to have caretakers. Meaning for 4 to 17, you've got to have these caretakers that are there.
How many rooms are we talking about? Because, when you start putting in 2,000 along with the support that you've got to have, and the other question I have is, did he give you any timeline on this?
Well, I was asking him, there's 1,300 rooms at that facility, and I was asking him how long would they be there. And he said normally about a month, but it's a continuous flow. It's not like 2,000 come at one time. The capability is 2,000, continuous flow, and I'm pretty sure he said that it's usually about a 30-day stay. But, when I was explaining to him Tunica County and that we just were not prepared for this, in my opinion, that we did not have the bilingual staff that he was looking for, and the surrounding services this would affect in DeSoto, Tunica counties, medical care, law enforcement. What if the place catches on fire? Where's the closest fire department? And I said, literally, we are in an open field that, at one point 10 years ago in 2014, these hotels and casinos, had popped up, and it's been closed since then. I said, it would take so long to even get this facility up to date. And another question was, is there anybody in the federal delegation that is supporting this? And they immediately said, oh, yes, Congressman Benny Thompson has reached out, and he is definitely supporting this. And, I said, will you tell me who is doing the RFP? Who's putting the proposal in? And he told me Dynamic Construction Group. I really hadn't found out a lot of information on Dynamic Construction Group, but that is where it was coming from. And like I said, it's usually good for 3 years, this contract. And now I have no definite information on the amount, but what the rumor is and what, several people think that they have confirmed is it's like $150 a day for 2,000. So, we're talking $300,000 a day. So this would be a really nice contract. And, Mississippi, especially that area there, it's just not positioned to be able to support this effort for these children. And these are children that they wandered across the border by themselves, or they were used. You kind of had a free pass if you had a child with you of coming across the border. And I just simply explained to him, Paul, that, this is because of an illegal open border the Biden administration has created. And, Mississippians aren't really willing to pay for all of these services from the Biden administration that this has happened to.
If you're calling this an influx care facility, you can call it what you want to, but where are they going to from here, and where's the next group coming from? In other words, this is a pass-through, but where are they going?
That was, and he said we have to be so close to an airport. And I said, well, if they're there 30 days, what happens after that? Mm-hmm. And he said, the minors will be processed by their office for placement with family members in the United States. So I don't know how many that wandered across the border actually have aunts and uncles or family members in the state. But instead of being released to adults who are not family and have no connection to the child, is what the goal was. But, this situation is just ripe for exploitation, abuse. These children are in a tough enough situation as it is. But to say that the influx, it's just like herding them through and hopefully getting to a family member. Well, the reality of that is there's probably not a lot of family members. And, obviously they need to be reunited in their home country rather than being made to stay in a shelter in Tunica, Mississippi. So why are we not putting the efforts of reuniting them to the country they came from if you can get that information? Mississippi's just not ready for this facility. And I believe I made that point very clear on my call to Mr. Hild that, we're just not prepared. It is an inadequate facility for children. And, I just think that I hope that these children are taken care of course.
Yep.
But, in a proper way that I don't believe that Mississippi's prepared to provide.
Well, you're putting them in one of the poorest sections of the country with no hospital, and it's a bad idea. Somebody is making some money off of this, and I think we can easily point to the several who might be. Have you got a second or two to stick around for a second?
Yes.
I got to ask you a couple of things, and also what the feeling is about the trial that's going on, and we might get a verdict today. If we get that verdict of guilty, the president of the United States, former president of the United States of America, leading candidate, could be sentenced to jail. This thing is just unbelievable. Back with more coming up next. There, U.S. Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith is spending some time with us. Let's kind of recap real quickly before we move on to Trump. Once again, so the timeline is the paperwork has to be done. You mentioned that the name of the company was Dynamic. What was it? Dynamic
Construction Group. And when I said, what's the deadline on getting these proposals in, he just kind of said late summer 2024. So he did not have an exact date for that.
Did you see any construction going on when you were around there? Trucks or anything like that there?
Trust me, this place has been mothballed. I was looking for snakes. I mean, literally.
Really?
It is just so grown up, and it's a shame that facility's out there. That I'd love to see a useful purpose for that, but it definitely would have to have unbelievable work to get it up and running, from what I could tell, because it is just there's barriers up that you can't get in. And it's been closed for 10 years, so it's what you would expect from a facility that's been closed for 10 years.
Someone on our C-Spire text line made a very good point. I wish they would put this effort behind the homeless veterans. That would be a great place for them, more so than these kids. But apparently not.
Yeah, well, I just think they're going in the wrong direction, and I don't think he wants to deal with us, every day to have to listen to me express my concerns about the issues that it would definitely create, and as well as the local law enforcement that has already put out a statement that, emphasizing the existing strain on public safety and health care. And, it's just, I don't think it needs to go there.
Well, a lot of that is coming also from Benny Thompson's base. I'm not sure if he just thinks during this election season he is just, Superman. I think he understands that. But there are a lot of the Democrat sheriffs in that area, board of supervisors, and everybody else who do not think this is a good idea. But Benny apparently is on board with it. So we'll see what happens there. The Trump trial is on. What's the buzz in D.C.?
Disgust. I mean, when you have issues just like we have been talking about on this show this morning, when you have that open border, when you have the inflation that we have, really are we going to worry about hush money from years ago from a porn star? I mean, everybody's just disgusted with this. And, it's obviously so obvious to keep him off the campaign trail. And my understanding is that, we're on track to jury deliberations, and it's going to determine whether it ends in a mistrial, an acquittal, or the first ever felony conviction of a former president. But it is so ridiculous. It is so frustrating to, first of all, watch his family go through this. But, it's amazing that we're spending time on this. But obviously the jury's got to evaluate the 34 counts of falsifying business records and the things that they have come up with, and how the jurors interpret the testimony and which witnesses they find credible. And, it will be interesting to see, but I am so ready for it to be over with. I'm ready to get on the campaign trail and, let's talk about the real issues of this country.
Regardless of how this one comes out, then you got to go to Georgia. You got to take care of that one. That one hasn't been dismissed. But one way or the other, the older you are, Senator, the more surreal this is. I mean, if you're a young person, you've kind of grown up with this if you just came into political puberty. But if you're a baby boomer and you're listening to this, you know history. You've lived a lot of it. This is just surreal. When people start throwing out like a third world country, man, this is very, very close. Can you imagine us doing this to Barack Obama as Republicans?
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, we know that this is just public humiliation to try to taint an election. It is truly election interference.
You create the indictments and then you say, as a news media, would you vote for a president who has all of these indictments? It's crazy.
Former President Donald Trump dismissing the impact his legal battles could have on his presidential campaign, as he is due back in a Manhattan courtroom for closing arguments in his civil fraud trial today. Now, Trump's legal team asked to delay this in light of the death of his mother-in-law. The judge refused.
Former President Trump's attorney, Alina Habba, joins us now. Alina, good morning to you. Trump wanted to speak in court today. The judge said no. How big of a deal is this?
Well, initially, we had just asked, could we please postpone today? His mother-in-law clearly just died, and he would have liked to have been with his family. The judge said no. He required him to come in when his family is grieving. That's number one. Number two, the president, as a defendant, wanted to put words on the record and say what he had to say in terms of his closing. He has a right to get up and speak. He is a defendant. The judge said, oh, okay, but we're going to restrict that speech again. Now, remember, this is a judge that put a gag order on me, on the president, all the lawyers, and we're dealing with that every day. So the president wouldn't speak, and I would never have him speak under those circumstances. Imagine free speech being completely slashed, not for a normal person, never mind us, but for the leading candidate of the Republican Party. It's so obvious what they're doing. I'm tired of it, and I think the American people are really getting tired.
Could I just make one quick follow-up? So basically, let's say this was the closing that you were going to read. Basically, they're saying Donald Trump could not read the exact same thing.
That's right. They're saying exactly that.
Wow.
Your comments on that? I mean, it's crazy.
It absolutely is. I mean, this is something that happened in 2006. The president says that it did not happen. He said this is truly a porn star that is after money. It did not happen.
Yeah.
And, I mean, here you're listening to these witnesses, and, I mean, you bring Michael Cohen in, who admits that he stole $60,000 from him. So, where is a credible witness in any of this?
Plus the fact you have some legal scholars who said that there was no crime in here as far as pertains to the president, but they're trying to manufacture an infraction and had to do some creative legal maneuvering to get him where he is now. So it's crazy. It is crazy.
If an encounter had happened, whether it did or whether it didn't, where's the crime here? Who's the victim here?
Well, the NGOs, the non-disclosure agreements, again, they are saying has nothing to do with this. So you get a lot of these legal scholars up there. They're shaking their heads, saying you really had to stretch the truth just to get this one to court. But not only on this, on several other things that he's involved in. We will see what happens today. It might be big news if it does manifest itself as a verdict one way or the other by the end of today. Final thoughts, ma'am?
Well, I'm definitely going to be following this very closely in Tunica County. When things like this pop up that would be so dramatically affecting an area anywhere in the state, I just feel like it's my job to track it down, to make sure we get all the correct, accurate details, and to put up the opposition that is needed here. And, we just want to do things in Mississippi to prosper Mississippi, to make sense, and not be played into the hand of the Biden illegal border at the cost and expense of the people who live here.
We are a good people. We want to take in kids, but this one's beyond the pale. It doesn't make sense. As a matter of fact, it seems to be more injurious for the kids themselves. Back up a little bit. I can't understand how in the world parents would allow their children, whether they're 2 years old, 2 months old, or 18 years, 16 years old, 17 years old, to make that trip with people that they know are nefarious in the first part. I just don't understand how they do that, how they are without moms or dads here in America. It just doesn't make sense.
Paul, I've talked to girls that have been trafficked on the border, and it's by their mothers. It's by their parents. You were just talking about another group of people that their morals, it is just so different than what we think, by the grace of God, are accustomed to here in the South. And it's just so hard to believe that, they will sell their children. So been down there, firsthand witnessed it, and it is incredible what they're willing to do to make money off of these children, and so many of the times it is the parents.
And a lot of money has been made.
Oh, yes, and a lot of money will be made off this contract, too.
You got that right. U.S. Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith, ma'am, thank you for taking the time. Please, if there is any update, the time is yours, so let us know, would you?
Thank you so